Good evening, patriots, and welcome to the live broadcast of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. Today, May 30th, 2024, will go down in American history as the day the American justice system finally collapsed for American citizens that are Republican, conservative, a former president, and his supporters. Today proved beyond a reasonable doubt that our justice system has been hijacked by the Democrat Party of Joe Biden and his appointees. I told you that Trump would never get a fair trial in Manhattan. It had to be moved out of there because that is a deep blue Democrat voting area. And 95% of the people who live there have Trump derangement syndrome. I told you this judge needed to recuse himself because of his own Trump derangement syndrome. I told you that the only way Trump stood a chance is if these 12 jurors, or at least one, did not have Trump derangement syndrome. I told you that based on the evidence presented that I read in the transcripts, there was no way this jury could ever convict Trump unless they were biased against him, like 95% of the population where they live. And here we are. Tonight, my friends, the left and the Democrats are celebrating. They're laughing at us. Let them have their moment. Because trust me when I tell you this, their moment is short-lived. Shortly after the verdict was read, something very strange happened. The RNC website where you donate to the Republican candidates or donate for Trump crashed. Why do you think that happened? Within the next 72 hours, I guarantee you, the most donations ever done in American history for a presidential candidate, Donald J. Trump, will have taken place. Former President Trump, as you all know by now, was convicted today of all counts in his New York hush money trial, opening up an uncertain new era in the U.S. politics. The Manhattan jury found him guilty of all 34 counts related to falsification of business records. And sentencing will be scheduled for July 11th, conveniently 4 days before the Republican National Convention. How convenient. So let me just say that if today's verdict shocked any of you, well, you haven't been paying attention. Didn't shock me. Pissed me off a little bit. But I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. Going back to actually when Donald Trump became president on day one. The writing was on the wall, and it just kept getting brighter and brighter. This year has already threatened to upend some of everyday American public life. Polls show voters reluctant to award credit to the incumbent Joe Biden for what is, on average, a rising standard of living. That weakness, one of the clearest analytical guides to U.S. politics. The idea that voters reward the leaders who make them better off. Now voters have to contend with the fact that the other major party candidate has been convicted of a crime and a felony on top of that. The first time this has occurred in the run-up to a presidential election. Trump is expected to appeal, and he will. And I want you to understand this. I have no doubt that what took place today will be overturned in the appeal process. But the difficulty of forecasting the November electoral results and the sharp policy differences between the two candidates raise the risk of a political shock in November. Pollsters have for months been trying to determine whether a conviction would represent new information for voters. New polling released over the past week found that 70% of voters were watching news of this trial closely. Just 6% of voters said they would be less likely to vote for Donald Trump if he's convicted. A whopping 94% said they would still vote for Trump over Joe Brandon Biden. Is that enough to affect margin of victory in the handful of battleground states that will determine the election outcome? It's worth remembering that the prosecution's theory of this case was that Trump's team believed his conduct mattered to voters. In the government's telling, a payoff to adult film star Stormy Daniels was intended to keep news of Trump's relationship with her out of public view before the November 2016 election. His public standing had already been damaged by the publication of Access Hollywood tapes that showed him saying something disgraceful about women in their private parts. But here's the thing. He was still elected president. So once again, voters knew both of those stories in the 2020 election as well, when Trump lost by a narrow margin. Whether you want to believe the election was rigged or not, the election wasn't lost by much. And even as the trial unfolded, putting ugly stories about his conduct on the front pages almost daily for weeks, Trump has edged ahead in all national polls. Some people surely see their vote as a moral endorsement of an individual. The left-wing voters threaten to abandon President Biden over support for Israel, and the way that's playing out, we all see it. But in a more literal sense, a vote for president means much more than assigning sleeping rights to the Lincoln bedroom. The presidency brings with it command of the military, control of administrative agencies, nominations for judgeships, countless regulatory powers, and much, much more. All of which we saw very strong when Donald Trump was our president, and we saw the weakness of Joe Biden's leadership. Victory also affirms our social loyalties. We all want to root for a winning team. In that sense, it's easy to see how voters can back a damaged candidate. And that's leaving aside the beliefs that Trump has promoted that the results in court was the results of a political-driven witch hunt. There's also the very real possibility, 100% possibility to be honest, as I said, that an appeal will overturn this travesty. Everyone needs to understand the U.S. legal system can and does get things wrong. If you don't believe me, then ask that question to African Americans across this country and to the Indian tribes all across our great land. Ask them if the justice system in America has ever got it wrong. Donald Trump's reaction as he exited the Manhattan, New York courtroom. This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who is corrupt. They wouldn't give us a venue of change. We were at 5% or 6% in the district in this area. The real carnage is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. We have a source-backed district attorney, and the whole thing is that we did nothing wrong, and that was proven. I'm a very innocent man. I'm fighting for our country and fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to hurt a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And I will keep fighting till the end, and I will win because our country has gone to hell under Joe Biden. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, in serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons, from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country under this administration. We have a country that is in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case ever. And we will fight for our Constitution. Thank you very much. I couldn't agree more with those words. Now, as I've told you, for those of you that watch this show on a regular basis, that, and most of you know that this trial was not live on TV, although Trump wanted it live on TV, but the judge refused it. And of course, we know now why the judge refused it, because we can read the transcript of everything that took place every single day, which is something I did. So I want to share with you some of the judge's instructions to jurors before they began deliberation that I found very disturbing, as did many legal scholars across America. They must not make a decision based on bias or stereotypes. That's the pot calling the kettle black. They must set aside personal differences about the defendant. That is the pot calling the kettle black. They can consider whether a witness hopes to receive a benefit related to the trial, or if they have an interest in how the case ends. Well, folks, clearly Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, and the judge himself did, as I'm going to prove here shortly. And here's the most outrageous one. They cannot convict Trump on Michael Cohen's testimony alone just because he's an accomplice. Here is the judge telling the jury that Donald Trump is guilty because Michael Cohen was the prosecution's star witness and Trump was his accomplice in the crimes that he committed. He told them, jurors, you will recall that during jury selection, you agreed that you would set aside any personal opinions or biases you might have in favor or against the defendant, and that you will decide this case fairly on evidence and the law. Again, I direct you to decide this case on the evidence and the laws as it relates to the defendant here on trial. You must set aside any personal opinions of bias you might have in favor or against the defendant, and you must not allow any such opinions to influence your verdict. This coming from the same Trump derangement syndrome judge who is clearly biased. Now, I told you that this will be overturned on appeal. And I'm sure that many of you are wanting to know why I feel that way. It is my personal opinion, everything about Judge Juan Merchant will get this overturned. The simple fact that this man, if you want to call him that, was 100% biased against Trump before and during the trial. His own words and actions are going to get this overturned. No doubt whatsoever. 100%, he should have recused himself from day one. Anybody, any judge with morals and values would have stepped aside. But not this piece of shit. Let's look at the damning facts about this judge. He was the judge overseeing the case and trial of the Trump Organization and its former CFO, Alan Weisenberg, sentencing Weisenberg to 5 months in prison and ordered Trump's companies to pay $1.6 million fine, the maximum amount under New York state law. He was also the judge that presided over the fraud case against Trump's friend Steve Bannon. He was the judge assigned to the J6 protesters from New York, and then became the judge to oversee this trial against Trump. Now, I ask you to think about this for a moment. The selection of which judge will get which case is a random selection. Basically, for the far left liberals out there, let me dumb it down a little bit for you. It's like pulling a name out of a hat. Tell me what are the odds that the same judge gets selected to oversee all 4 cases? Mathematically impossible. Looking deeper, he is a registered Democrat. He has made donations to the DNC. He has made donations to Joe Biden's campaign. He made donations to Kamala Harris's campaign. He donated to Act Blue, the Democrat Party's preferred online fundraising platform. He made donations to a group called Progressive Turnout Project Stop Republicans. Let's go deeper. His daughter, Lauren, actually worked on the Biden-Harris presidential campaign. All of which, by the way, was reported and verified by no other than, you ready for this, liberals and Democrats? Your favorite channel, CNN. It's surprising that a sitting judge would make a political donation of any size to a partisan candidate or cause, said Elon Hong, a senior CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. Stephen Gillers, a legal ethics professor at New York University, said that New York, like most jurisdictions, has adopted language from the American Bar Association Model Code of Judicial Conduct. He told CNN, this prohibits judges from soliciting funds for, paying an assessment to, or making a contribution to political organizations or a candidate. The contributions to Biden and to Stop Republicans is forbidden by the bar. He donated to Joe Biden's campaign. He should get off this case. And this judge has a history with President Trump in prior cases. Mike Davis, a former Republican chief counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee and founder of a conservative judicial advocacy group, told CNN's Pamela Brown. He finds out that this judge actually donated to Biden's campaign, so that at least raises the appearance of impropriety, the appearance that this judge could not be impartial against President Trump. Karen Friedman, a CNN legal analyst and former prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, said that the political donations amount to an unforced error for Judge Merchant. She said the judge has a reputation of being a fair down-the-middle judge. However, donating to a defendant's political rival can cause the appearance of a conflict, even where there's none, and creates an enforced error, in this case involving Trump. You think? Let's dig deeper. Throughout the trial, almost every time Trump's attorney stood to make an objection, the judge overruled it. But when the prosecution stood to make an objection, the judge would approve it most of the time. During the trial, the judge placed the gag order on Trump, silencing him, but did not do the same thing to the prosecution's witnesses, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. They were allowed to go on all social media and network news organizations and trash Trump every day. Michael Cohen even was running a podcast daily, trashing Trump. During Stormy Daniels' testimony, this judge laid out the things that she could not talk about when she testified. And that was the actual sexual things she claimed took place behind closed doors. Yet, when she was on the stand and she started talking about all these things and smiling about them and giggling about them, the judge did not stop her. He allowed her to say these things anyway. And then afterwards, told the jury to disregard that part of her testimony. He did that for one purpose and one purpose only: embarrassment for Trump and his family and his wife especially. And one of the most outrageous things this judge did, he refused to allow the defense last witness that they wanted to call. Think about this for a moment. He refused to allow a defense witness to testify for the defense. This man was specialized in campaign finance laws. He was to explain to the jury why this case was not related to any type of campaign finance. Yet the judge decided he would instruct the jury on what the law is. We know what this man was going to say, because after the judge denied him from taking the witness stand, he took to the news media to explain what his testimony would have been. Without a shadow of a doubt, during this entire trial, this judge was clearly biased against Donald Trump, and his own actions prove it, which is why he would not allow cameras in that courtroom. The judge denied every request that Trump and his attorneys made to stream it live. But the judge cannot run away from the court transcripts. They are available for the world to read. To read everything that was ever said in that courtroom by any and every human being that was part of the prosecution or the defense. I read them. I walked away every evening having no doubt what this was about. It was about stopping Trump any way possible from taking on Joe Biden. Everything we have all watched, read, and heard take place over the past 3 years against Trump was all done to keep him off the campaign trail and tie him up in courtrooms. His house gets raided by the FBI for classified documents that he failed to turn over to the National Archives. Although, as president, the president is allowed to declassify documents, which Trump says he did. Regardless, they raided his house anyhow. These documents were highly secured inside of Mar-a-Lago and protected by the Secret Service 24/7. And they even knew where they were kept. Then it's found out that Joe Biden had the same thing that he took and stashed at his offices, at his homes, in his garage, not protected by anyone, when he was a senator and when he was vice president. Vice president can't declassify shit. Neither can a senator. Yet, it's Trump that gets prosecuted and Biden does not. We watched this DA Braggs actually run for the position, saying that if you elect me, I will bring Donald Trump down. Even after the previous DA in Manhattan refused the case and said there's no crime there, and the Department of Justice refused to bring charges saying there was no crime there. And how is it possible that a man can run for district attorney and not know what the former prosecutors or the former Department of Justice actually saw and the evidence that was there? How is that person able to run a campaign and say, if you elect me, I will bring this guy down, if he doesn't know the evidence that proved to the others that there was nothing there? We watched Georgia's DA, Fannie Tafia Willis, do the same damn thing running for office. Elect me and I will bring Trump down. Not to mention all her anti-Trump memes she posted on social media, showing Trump in an orange jumpsuit behind bars and publicly trash-talking him to any news camera that will allow her fat, ugly face on it. Patriots, we are witnessing the biggest destruction of the American justice system to ever take place. I've been telling you for years that we have a two-tier justice system. One for Democrats and the other for Republicans, conservatives, Donald J. Trump, and anyone who supports him. The American justice system has been hijacked by the Democrat Party, plain and simple. The judges, the DAs, prosecutors, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. America is now no different when it comes to our justice system than the justice system of third world corrupt countries, where the most powerful are allowed to destroy anyone who dare question their authority. Now, the good news, the sun will rise tomorrow. I'm pretty 99.9% sure. Some of us may not, because we're taking this way too harder than we should. I know. I'm getting your emails, your text messages. I understand the pain that you feel right now. Some of you did not see this coming. Although I tried, and many others that do podcasts that are conservative and other conservative news outlets laid it out pretty clearly that this was a rigged system. And have been telling you for a long time that our justice system is broken. So to take it as serious as some of you are taking it, please don't. There's no reason to get your blood pressure worked up so much that it kills you. Because, again, this isn't going to change you breathing air or the sun rising. What it's going to do is make Donald J. Trump once again the President of the United States of America. The chances, well, I'm not going to say the chances of Donald Trump going to jail don't exist with what we've seen, because that's their last straw. Anyone else that's never been convicted of a crime in their life at his age for this type of crime would not do jail time. That's just a fact. I'm telling you that from somebody that spent many years in law enforcement besides my military career. This case and all the others against Donald J. Trump are for the purpose of trying to keep him from becoming president. And the only way to do that, I've told you right here many times what their goal is. Put Donald Trump in jail. They want to see him in orange behind bars, and that's the only way Joe Biden wins on November 11th, because he can't run on what he's done for our country. Our economy's in the tank. Drugs by the billions are flowing across our southern border that he's left wide open because he removed all of Donald J. Trump's border protections that were put in place. MS-13 gang members coming across and killing Americans. The fentanyl is killing Americans. Terrorists from Middle Eastern countries are coming across our southern border. They're trying to infiltrate military bases right now. I just reported on them trying to infiltrate the FBI's base at Quantico. Our economy is in the tank unless you're a millionaire. But if you're an everyday mom and pop that's out there working one or two jobs to make a living and put food on the table, you know what it costs to buy shit at the grocery store and how much it costs to put gas in your vehicle. And what do we have Joe Biden doing right now? As we're getting closer to the election to bring down gas prices? Once again, releasing oil from our national reserves. It's there for a World War III type emergency. He's depleting our national reserves of oil. And before that, he was stopping land leases all over the country and people from drilling oil, while once again propping up Middle Eastern countries and countries that do not like us and making us buy oil from them. This is a man who's, and it's not just him, everybody he put in power is hell-bent on turning this into a socialist style. That's plain and simple for everybody to see. It's appalling what he's doing. He's dividing Americans on a black and white basis, or at least trying to, when finally polls are showing that a lot of African Americans are seeing through it and going, wait a minute, this guy ain't done shit for us, and we're worse off today than we were when Donald Trump was president. And he's losing the young vote, which is based on what's happening with Israel, because some of these young college kids believe that Hamas terrorists should not be tracked down and killed because, oh, you might accidentally kill some civilians. Well, guess what? That happens in war. Every war that was ever conducted on planet Earth, civilians die. And you little liberal snowflakes, you don't know this because you're too young, but when Joe Biden was vice president, the president himself, Obama, authorized the use of drones to attack American citizens overseas that they felt were involved with terrorism activity. Not go over there and get them, capture them, and bring them back here to America for trial. Nope. Drone attack them and kill them. Under Biden and under Obama, we saw drone attacks that killed innocent men, women, and children. We saw bombing attacks on Al-Qaeda and the Taliban kill innocent men, women, and children. It happened in the war on terrorists, happened in Afghanistan, it happened in Iraq, it happened in Operation Just Cause down in Panama, it happened in Golden Pheasant, it happened in Vietnam, it happened in Korean War, it happened in World War II. For crying out loud, millions of American citizens are not American citizens. Millions of innocent men, women, and children were killed by bombing raids of U.S. and coalition forces. Same thing with World War I, all the way back to the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. Every conflict that's ever taken place on planet Earth, innocent people are going to die. That's happened in every war in the past, and everyone going forward, that will take place. That's what happens. I'm sorry. I wish that no innocent people could get killed. As a 4-time combat veteran, I assure you, I do not like war. And I know what happens in war, and I know what happens to innocent people. But guess what? When you have an enemy like Hamas that is using the citizens, the innocent men, women, and children as human shields, how in the hell are you going to protect them? When they're setting up all their military bases in schools, in mosques, in hospitals, and you expect no innocent men, women, and children to die. And we should stop going after terrorists. And Joe Biden himself cut off some of the ammunition going to Israel and caved to these far-left liberal snowflakes, giving Hamas a chance to do what? Regroup. And what did they do once again just 4 days ago? Started launching again rockets into Israel, killing Israelis from the same place that Israel said they're about to go attack and take out the remaining terrorists. But if you do so, the world court will go after you for criminal charges, and the Biden administration will not supply you with weapons. This man can't run on his record. This man, in the withdrawal from Afghanistan, turned it into a cluster fuck from hell and got more military members killed, left behind civilians, American civilians, to die at the hands of the Taliban, claimed that they destroyed all the military equipment when we have witnesses that were responsible for doing that testify in front of Congress that no, that didn't happen. They were able to destroy some, but it happened so fast and it was moving so quick. We had to get in there, get what we could, get out. It was over with. And then this president left behind billions of dollars of military equipment in the hands of the terrorists to one day be used on the battlefield against American forces. That is treason. Look it up. Aiding and abetting the enemy. So, what's good for Republicans, Democrats is also good for you. I sure hope that there is a DA somewhere in America that will go after Joe Biden and prosecute him for treason when he gets out of office. They ain't got time to do it now. And if he manages to stay in by some slight miracle, go after him then. If we're going to do this to Donald Trump for a fucking porn star bullshit, Michael Cohen, a lying, pathetic weasel, and what came out of that trial, I guarantee you, I can prove that not only did Joe Biden commit treason against America, but so did Obama when he traded 5 known terrorists that killed American service members on the battle for 1 Army deserter who left his base and joined the Taliban, Sergeant Burdog. That is aiding and abetting the enemy as well. Treason has been conducted in our White House by Obama and by Joe Biden. And there needs to be DAs out there willing to stand up, put on your big boy pants, sharpen your pencils, bring people like me in from the military standpoint to be able to show you and tell you about the proof, or those that were there, and prosecute those son of a bitches. Be careful what you ask for, Democrats. If you think for 1 second that today ended it all, you have something else coming to you. You have officially woken up a shit ton of American patriots that will put Donald J. Trump back in office. The only way that won't happen is if this judge, who I already proved to you, is a corrupt son of a bitch. And regardless if he puts Trump in jail or not, it's going to be overturned. He will lose his law license. He will not practice law again when this is all said and done. Neither will D.A. Braggs. Their days are numbered. They don't know it yet. They're laughing their ass off right now. But their days are numbered as far as doing what they do now for a job. Bottom line, the sun will rise tomorrow. Republicans and conservatives will continue to rise and rise up now in numbers like we've never seen before. I know for a fact, because if it's happening to me, it's happening to my wife, we're not the only 2 people that know staunch Democrats that hate Donald Trump that are saying, I'm switching my vote to Donald Trump because what just took place in this trial is destroying America and our justice system. If they see it, I know that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other Democrats, and I used to be a Democrat. You all know that watch this show. They're going, this is wrong. My friends, we will get through this time. We will be better. We will take back this country. Sadly, I believe there's going to be some things happening in the next 24, 48 hours that we wish shouldn't. So for those patriots out there that are thinking about doing something that you believe is patriot umbrellaed, don't. Now's not the time. If the time comes, I'll be the first one to stare in front of this camera while I'm strapped and loaded telling you now's the time. And I pray to God that never happens, because I don't want to ever see that day come in America. That's what the left does. That's what Antifa does. That's what Black Lives Matter does. When they burn and loot and destroy shit and torch police cars and police stations and buildings and mom and pop stores and assault police officers. That's not what we do. But if push comes to shove and you're backed in a corner where you're constantly being bit, then as we know what happened in the inception of this country, patriots stood up and said enough. We're not at that point yet. Trust me. I hope that we never get to that point. What happened today will be overturned. And I firmly believe that Donald J. Trump will win in November and be your president. And then it's your turn to laugh at the liberals and the Democrats and say, to hell with you. Their time to celebrate is now. Let them have it. It's short-lived. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I had a ton of stuff I was going to cover tonight in the news that was not related to this, but this kind of blew all that out of the water. So we had to cover this trial, and I had to explain, and hopefully those of you that were in a very bad place today over this verdict understand now that it's not the end of the road. It's the beginning of the road. And it's a road that we're going to go down together, and we're going to win. I know that all the way into my bones. Let them have their time now. Let them laugh. It's short-lived. In the description of this show and all my shows, all my videos, you can see the places you can follow me on social media. Follow me. I'll do the same for you as well. Share this channel. Share my videos. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Whatever you're doing this weekend, please be safe. There are terrorists in our country right now waiting to attack us, thanks to Joe Biden. I'll be hitting the road next week, be up in Oklahoma as the guest speaker of a Second Amendment convention there. The following week, I'll be in Detroit, Michigan, broadcasting live from the People's Convention. And we're going to be getting out there. If you're in any of those locations or any places I'm at, please come up and say hello. I'd like to shake your hand, give you a hug. I want to meet the people that support this channel and support me and support conservative values. That's what this is all about. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I just happen to serve my country in the military, in law enforcement. I'm retired, and I wasn't done helping fight for America, which is why I do this podcast. Whatever happens this weekend, please be safe. Whatever you're going to be doing, watch the weather. It's pretty bad out there these days. the tornadoes and the things that have been happening. And I'll be back next Tuesday. If anything really significant breaks between now and then that American patriots need to know about, I either do a live show about or I do a video about. Unless that takes place, I'll see you next Tuesday. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America, and may God bless each and every one of you. And I'll leave you with this. If you do not know what blue and gold star families are, or you do not know what angel families are, I beg you to look it up tonight. And you will see that this current administration is literally pissing on the graves of their loved ones. And that's why, if nothing else, this current administration must be defeated. Good night, everyone.